Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial on how to make a to-do list app with React, Next.js, and TypeScript. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's open up our terminal, cd into our preferred directory, and then what we're going to do is run yarn create next app, and then whatever we want to call it. There's also an npx equivalent, but I prefer yarn personally, but whichever will work. Brilliant. Okay, so now that that has been completed, we can go ahead and cd into that, open it up in our code editor of choice, and we are set. First step on the agenda is going to be to set up TypeScript to work with Next.js. So this is quite simple. First, we're going to want to install the dependencies necessary. So go ahead and run that command. Awesome. Now that that is done, you're going to want to create a tsconfig.json file and then run yarn dev in the console. There we go. Brilliant. In the terminal, sorry. And then we can go ahead and change these files to have the .tsx extension. Brilliant. Now if we restart again, and there we go. Welcome to Next.js. We've got our template running with TypeScript. Okay, so next up on the agenda is going to be to clear this out so we have an intuitive sort of whiteboard for us to be able to work on our to-do list app. So let's go ahead and clear all of this out. Go. Get rid of. So we'll leave main. We can also get rid of the footer. It's not necessary. Awesome. Fantastic. And we can say to do. Brilliant. Next up, we're going to want to create a div and simply lay out our to-do elements. So we're going to want to create a to-dos and set to-dos state object array, set it empty for now, import React so we can access all of its properties. Fantastic. Okay. Now, what we're going to want to say is have an add to do function. This add to do function is going to take in text, which will be of type string, and this text is going to be appended to the set to do's array. It's going to be added to it. So we're going to say set to do's. It's going to be spread out the rest of the to-dos and then add the new text. So what this is going to allow us to do is say keep the to-dos that are already there and append or add the text as a new to-do, the text that we input as a new to-do in the array. Fantastic. Okay, now what we're going to want is an input type text with an onChange property, and this onChange is going to take in event. This event we can pass over to add to do. We can say e.target.value. There we go. Brilliant. Okay. make sure you add this div or this input inside of main over here so it shows up right there. Brilliant. Okay. You can add a placeholder. Again, we're not focused on UI here. It's just a functionality. Add to do. There we go. Fantastic. We will also have a button that we will say button one click. Actually, we're going to refactor this really quickly. Instead of passing in the text directly, we're going to have a property called temporary text. I've actually never done to-do list like mock with this strategy, but let's try it out. Should be quite simple. This is going to be a string that we're going to clear out every time. So this on click is simply over here. What we're going to do is say set temporary text to be the value of the text field. There we go. And then we're going to add to do over here with temporary text. And also, let's remember to clear temporary text after every add. There we go. So we can start off with a fresh slate every time. Let's wrap this in a div. Awesome. Okay, once that is wrapped, let's go ahead and test this out by logging. So we can just say console.log. Actually, we'll extract this to a use effect. And this use effect, if you haven't worked with it before, what it'll do is within this these parameters, these dependencies that you pass it, it will perform an action once a change occurs in this dependency. So if you leave it empty, it'll just be once the page loads. If you simply do not include this, it'll be when anything happens on the page. And if you include something, so for example, to-dos, when our to-dos array is modified, it will console log, in this case, the to-dos array. So if we check our console and add a to-do, this is my to-do, add it, it'll log that, and then let's say y. Boom, and as you can see, it is appending this every time within the array. And actually, I just noticed an error over here that every time this value, this default value, temporary text. Okay, brilliant. And then, fantastic. Try that again. We'll add one. Okay, it is not clearing. Change this to value. There we go. Fantastic. Now that that is handled, we can finally render within the actual screen, which is kind of what we want to do. So right below this div that is wrapping our input and our button, we will have an unordered list. And this unordered list is going to return a map. So we're going to say todos.map, and a map or iterate through our to-do elements. And we're going to say return a list element. And just with the element, or we can rename this to do. Assign the key. That key is going to allow us to identify each one. And as you can see, they're already outputting there. So if we say to do, hit add, there it is. If we say coding, bam, they keep appending. So the functionality is essentially complete pretty much for each one, which is fantastic. And we have got the basic functionality for creating on a very ugly UI a to-do list. But this is basically all you need. It's quite simple. You just have to use state and simply append to the array. And this is the basis of how every to-do list works. There's also things you can add, like for example, on each one in this map, the ability to delete one, you can have a function to delete one, etc. But yeah, it's quite simple. And then you can spend a ton of time, which is what apps like Todoist, etc. do, which is improving the UI, improving the UX, just making it absolutely beautiful. But functionality wise, this is basically all you need for the sort of primitive implementation of just adding to-dos. The C part of the CRUD, the create, read, update, delete, or I guess also the read part. You've got the C and the R, then it'd just be about allowing editing and deleting, which is quite simple. And yeah, that's essentially it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see, and I'll talk to you soon.